Good afternoon and welcome to our Cleveland City Council Monday, June 24th work session. It being just a few moments after 1. My apologies for the delay. We will begin our work session today with special presentations and public comments. We don't have anyone registered to make public comments. Is there anyone wishing to speak to the council at this juncture? Seeing none, it takes us very rapidly to our city manager's report, and he is busy managing handouts to the council. But Mr. Fivas, when you are ready, we will hear from you, sir.
You were too efficient.
Well, I didn't want to get in trouble for taking too long. Good to see my colleagues who were just at the Main Street luncheon with us. We all walked back together. Had a great presentation. Brian, are you here? Brian Turner gave a great presentation and on our City Hall plans, and I'm thankful. And Seth gave a great update on the downtown grant project. So it was a good time was had by all, and David Goodwill's looking for sponsors for the new City Fields 5K. It was a good meeting. All right. Mr. Fivas?
All right. I just sent you something. All right. Thank you so much, Mr. Mayor and City Council. It was the casualty of having to squeeze in the Main Street presentations. I thought there was some a lot of good information passed and a lot of great questions from the community. I think there was about 70 people there. I want to start by going through some projects that I've gotten a number of questions on and wanted to make sure everyone was up to speed on all those projects. The first one is the $50 million Georgetown Highway project. As far as we know, every indication is that they're still several months ahead of schedule, and you can start seeing the road on both sides, and it's getting pretty exciting. I think this is the third year of a 4-year project. We're going to ask the TDOT to come in and give us an update on that project, and we'll try to coordinate that at the right time in the next couple months. If we have any questions, do you have any questions about that project as far as that we should get from TDOT? I've had several questions recently. There's all kinds of development over there. A lot of people coming, a lot of people going. Any conversations or questions? All right.
Food City, do you have an update on Food City that's supposed to open, Joe, by any chance?
We have not gotten an update on when they should open. Okay. I really don't want to put that out there as far as because we don't necessarily know. But it looks like they have their outside shell done. They're doing some of their site work, and it would probably be about 4 months for them to stock the store and to hire employees usually. So I would expect sometime in early fall would be the time that they would probably be ready to open. That's just my guess. They have not conveyed that.
Questions about when it's going to open out there.
Yeah, the Weigels I think is probably at about a similar time frame as that.
I think they'll have it open before then.
Yeah,
they're moving along pretty quick.
Yeah, they are. So if there's any questions you have along that corridor, there's a lot of things happening. Next update I want to give is the TDOT project on the exit 27. They're widening the approach lanes in there, so we have more loading capacity because when people come home from in the evenings, they were getting out into I-75. That project is causing a fairly decent amount of delays on Paul Huff recently, as we've all seen on Facebook. And we are really, I don't know, I don't know how to put it. We're really, 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 trying to work with them to try to do those not during the most busy hours, like at between 10 and 2, and trying not to have lanes closed down and a lot of those issues. But there's still probably a couple months left to go on that. We hope that they have that done before schools start in August. But that project will will certainly help in the future for traffic congestion in the area. Following on that, you see that we also are doing work on the Paul Huff and Peerless intersection. We are right in the midst of doing the foundations for the mast arms at that busy intersection. They're getting pretty close to having those. Once you have those foundations set, it'll be about 30 or so days for the concrete to cure. And then immediately after that, they will come in, meaning NAPCO will come in and will install the new mast arms out on Peerless and Paul Huff intersection. So the mast arms will be up. The old lights will still be there. And then we have a little bit of curb work to do in there. We're figuring out the timing of that. And then what will happen is we will also, when they have the mast arms up, they will also put the actual lights up. So for a while, you'll have the old lights up and you'll have the new lights up. And the old lights will be the one that will be controlling the intersection. Then the intersection will be done when we get the curb replaced and modified. We do have 110 square feet that we're trying to get. We have been conveyed to us that we'll probably have that before the end of August. So about that same time, we will be bidding out the Paul Huff, or maybe probably hopefully before that, bidding out the Paul Huff repaving, which is about a $3.5 million paving job from the new, or from Hobby Lobby essentially, and Stewart Road through the intersection, all the way down Paul Huff, all the way to Georgetown Road. And so at that same time, we will have, we still have some sidewalk that needs to be finished on Mouse Creek. So all the Mouse Creek intersection will be completed with all the sidewalk and all the bells and whistles. All of the sidewalk, all of the intersection will be completed at Peerless and Paul Huff. And once it's paved, they will come down and, Cleveland Utilities will come and take down the old lights, and they will turn the new lights on, and it'll be a functioning intersection. So you'll see a lot of work over there, and have patience. We do not intend to have our work coincide with the work at the exit 27. We think that having two construction projects, that would be problematic, so we're kind of waiting for them to get out of the way. Any questions on that? That was a mouthful. Okay. 25th Street and Ocoee intersection. We've given intersections before. Everything is on schedule. They're getting close to being ready for their final design, and hopefully they are in the right-of-way phase. And the right-of-way phase will take a little bit of time for that. We do have copies of what the preliminary drawings are for that. If anyone wants to, I think I've shared that with a couple council members. And so you can kind of see what that future intersection will look like, which will be a game changer changes for a lot of that area right there around the hospital and the university and the Pye Center and Ocoee Middle School and Mayfield Elementary School, and there's a lot going on right there. now into downtown. You have the Inman Street corridor. That, basically, we have all the curb in. If the pavers came and wanted to pave next week, we could accommodate that, and they could start doing their milling and paving. Right now, we're waiting for those pavers to come, so we continue to pour sidewalk and make some changes. Last week, Cleveland Utilities came, and we have all the conduit in the ground out there, and they essentially blew air through them just to make sure that they were all working the way they should. And that, I think, is concluded. And so we're just basically at the end of doing sidewalk, putting in street trees, putting in street lights, and doing the last. And that's actually the easiest part. A lot of the underground work, the storm water, the conduit laying, and having to bore underneath the many areas that we had to bore underneath was the harder part of the job. We suspect, along with that project, that we will have the electricity on, not the electricity, but the power lines on Church Street from First to Church down past our city hall. That will be underground. We already have the conduit all in for that, so all of those power lines will go underground. And then simultaneously, we're also working on Johnston Park, and I meant to have a picture of it, is that we have removed all of the hardscapes in Johnston Park. We have a fence around it, and we are in the process of getting ready for bids and starting to do the necessary work to accomplish that. And
Yeah.
David has questions.
Johnston Park. The retainer wall on First Street, it hadn't been removed, it will be removed, right?
We've went back and forth on our plans on that.
That thing's leaning.
Well, we're thinking about leaving it in place and backfilling it and building a wall in front of it. We are still trying to figure out what to do with that wall.
If you do that, does that leave room to put in the parking that we talked about?
Yeah, we have a plan that we're working on. It's probably slightly different than what you've seen before. We lose a few extra cars, but having more of an element of parallel parking while doing that. And a lot of our plans have been a lot of discussion around the 150-year-old elm tree that's out there. There's a lot of conversation that if you remove that wall, you could expose a lot of the roots system for that, and there's just a lot of concern about that. So I think we've came up with a plan that protects the trees, and actually all the trees in Johnston Park, and gives us about the same amount of parking.
Okay.
Brian, Mayor? Some of that correct?
Mostly. No, you're good. That's right.
Anything you want to add?
No, I mean, essentially that wall will just be part of the ground. When this is done, the new wall will cover it and won't be there.
So
More or less.
cosmetically, you're going to cover the wall.
Yeah, we're more or less structurally buttressing that wall that's leaning. If you take it out, we're worried about air pockets getting in under the tree roots and then trying to backfill and hold the dirt in while you're putting it. Just worried about the tree, so.
I understand, yeah.
So, but we can have a design that we can share on that. There's been at least 40 different options for that in the
Yeah,
last
I've seen
several
some
weeks.
of the options.
So that's where we are today. Ask me in 2 weeks and we'll get to that.
Okay.
Brian, did you want to say anything more about the design on Johnston Park, on kind of where you are in the process?
Well, we're basically, you want me to come up?
Mhm.
We are, I talk about Johnston Park a lot, so I'm not sure what all I've said, but we are in the process of starting to get contractors together for that. We've got a lot of people who are wanting to work on the park, so that's a good thing. I think we'll be able to hopefully get some people who are interested in doing some restoration and donating a little bit of time. So we're looking at opportunities for that to, you know, save some money, but also get a good quality product, so.
So, are you about ready to go out with bids? I mean, how do you do that? How do you bid part of it and you want maybe donations?
We probably won't have, we may have one or two bids, but for the most part, we can use existing contracts we have, and then we can use our staff for some of the landscaping stuff. We'll need an irrigation contractor. We're gonna need a contractor for working on the gazebo, but they're all individual specialties. So it doesn't make sense to do one big lump bid for the whole thing, because you would end up paying a contractor to hire a sub, you know. So
Yeah.
we're looking at hiring each
And
individual
that
trade.
should speed up your timetable, right?
That's right. Hopefully we'll have all those people working concurrently.
So we're talking about being complete by mid-November?
That would be the goal. Yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
sounds good.
Good answer.
It's the only answer.
Pete, what's the latest? What's the latest on the?
I was hoping someone would ask Brian the timeline question.
He answered it fine.
Yeah, it is.
First.
You have in front of you, just to give you an update, we do have the last generation from our site consultants that are doing work on and this is still in draft form. We'll probably have a finalized draft that's down to each property in the next month and a half in August. This is for the RAISE grant. And essentially, we are trying to determine the exact alignment. And this will give you a flavor for what that future alignment could look like. And I don't have too many details other than letting you have that. And then we can come back when we have a little more information. Just wanted to pass along that there's actual real work going on, and there's probably a half dozen comments that we've already submitted on this, so it's still a work in progress. We intend to, once we get our RAISE grant officially, remember that's a federal grant. When we get that, we will immediately apply for another, we have the planning RAISE grant. We will apply for the construction RAISE grant, which they've been helpful in the past to give. TDOT has spoken very fondly, or has supported the direction of what this is, so that will be good. What does TDOT have to get out of this is that right now there's 10 intersections between coming off of Inman Street all the way to this, is that this will essentially go down to probably a third of that. It'll be more efficient, but also more importantly, it'll be the economic development aspects of what that can do to bringing more residential and more business. As we've discussed in great detail, it's one strategy to go and annex green fields, which we do pretty much at every meeting, including this meeting. But we also need to have just as much work with intentionality to redevelop our older housing stock in some of the areas that don't have the highest and best use, and make sure that we can get people moving to the middle of the community, not always going out to the edges. Any questions on any of that?
On the drawing board?
All right.
Joe,
Yes, sir.
I did have one question. The downtown paving on Inman,
Yeah.
when the contractor comes in, is that also going to include Wildwood?
When it's all said and done, when they come in, they will pay from pretty much the South Walmart all the way down Dalton Pike to Wildwood to Inman Street and 3rd Street. So, there's a truck route there on Third Street. We will pave First Street and Inman Street. The city owns Inman from Broad Street to Key Street. That is a city section, so we will continue that. And First Street, which is the next street over. We will do that, and then they're gonna pave on Broad Street and Ocoy Street all the way back to, just about, 25th Street.
But they'll do all that at one time, right?
As far as I know, yes. Yeah, it's one contract.
Do we have a timeline on it? I mean, how long will it take them to do that?
All of that, it will probably, I mean, they can be pretty efficient. My guess is that it'll probably take, by the time they show up and ready to do stuff, it'll probably be 3 weeks. You have any thoughts on that, Tommy? 3 weeks, 4 weeks?
Sure,
Yeah, so probably, we'll say a month. And they could give us a call anytime and say, we're doing, with all the rain that we had in, March and April and May, everyone in the business is backed up. And it might give us a couple extra weeks to do a little bit more sidewalk work in the downtown and get that cleaned up as well.
But, Joe, what you're saying, if they called today, Inman Street would be ready to pave.
It's been ready since May 1st. Yeah, about right around first week in May.
So the sidewalk work that you've got remaining would be done after the paving, right?
We
If
would,
they
yeah,
can.
we would have a different schedule to get that in there.
Yeah.
Mr. Fivas, you indicated that the section of Inman between Broad and Keith is city-owned. Would our city paving contract concurrently work while that state job is being paved as well?
I wouldn't say concurrently, but in the same ballpark.
Okay.
And they could do it before, they could do it after, but it's about at the same time. It's basically both those roads are in need of help, and it doesn't make sense to do all of Inman Street and then it'll be, in my experience, that really shows how bad the Inman Street really is, and we might as well just get it done and be done.
Joe, do you still intend to go to East Street on the inland? How far in that direction are you going on paving the streets and sidewalks?
Well, the paving, there's two things going on.
Yeah,
You have the Gaunt Street, which was next I was gonna talk about. So you have the Gaunt Street sidewalk, which is over and obviously starts at the College Hill Recreation Center, comes down Gaunt Street, brand new sidewalk, down to Inman Street. Then it'll be brand new sidewalk up Inman Street to Mosby Park and to East Street.
East Street.
And part of that, because you're doing the new sidewalk, you'll have some level of paving. Now, they will repave all the way to the intersection at Wildwood, and I would have to look and see if they're paving from Dooley or East Street down.
How about the traffic light, East Street, you know, it's one of the old ones is still left out there, but that one there, I just wondering if they're gonna put the poles, the big ones.
The streetscaping all the way out there? Yeah. We are committed to taking the streetscape all the way out to East Street.
Okay.
And that would include all with all the things we've said, is that we would put new mast arms out there. Wildwood, you'll have a new, when we get to that, we can do that as well.
Good.
Did I answer your question, Mr. Webb?
Yes.
All right. I'm sure there's something I missed. Any projects that I've missed that anyone would like an update on? Yes, sir.
Yeah, from Stewart Road, down Tasso to APD 40. How's that project going?
good. They have designs for that, and in fact, we were looking the other day that there was a piece of property over there for sale that we were looking at that may aid in that. But it's in the development stage and right-of-way phase and getting ready. It's funded and ready to go.
So, you think it'll be complete by mid-November or December?
I would say next spring.
Okay.
How about Atkinson Drive, Joe?
The second phase of Atkinson Drive or the new intersection?
Both.
Okay. The third triumphant of traffic widening issues that we have designs ready to widen frontage Atkinson Paul Huff. So that will have the new mast arms, that will have this area is widened. Part of that project is you have that stormwater feature that is at in front of Wendy's. And that will probably be modified and reduced in trying to get through there. We think that you need some walking infrastructure out there, especially down Frontage Drive with all those hotels. That we need to work on that. So all of that would be rolled into that project. That's slated. It's on our list. Probably this next wave of projects with the one that David brought up next spring. And then you have the Atkinson Drive Phase 2, which will be to extend the sidewalk from the Cleveland State Community College all the way down to Paul Huff. That one is just getting right away and starting that. That's actually not too difficult of a project. Our contractors who we would contract to go out and do that are all doing our downtown work. That's probably a project that they could be sent out on to do that as well.
How about the paving of Atkinson?
That would be done when we do the sidewalk.
Joe, will the sidewalks be on both sides of Atkinson Frontage Road or just one side?
That would be on the upward side, along where Cleveland State,
State is and go all the way up.
with crosswalks and areas, safety areas that people from all those neighborhoods can get out of their neighborhood and safely. You'll have crosswalks there. You can walk to the sidewalk.
Mr. Fivas, with the addition of a couple of new hotels on the other side of Atkinson frontage, will that sidewalk continue
Yeah,
towards?
I think it's 4.
Yeah. Will that sidewalk continue towards Courtyard, APT Suites, the new Hilton?
Yeah, we think it's just if you go over there on an evening, you see people walking across the street,
You do.
and it's not very safe. A lot of those were turned in before we did our sidewalk ordinance, but we need to first of all, from an aesthetic standpoint, it will look better, but probably more importantly, from a safety standpoint, is we need to have our guests at those hotels be able to come out and be able to walk laterally up and down that corridor so that they can get to the dining or shopping across the street.
Great.
I got one other project. I got one, Jim Sharp Park. Any update on that? Because I know we bid it out. Where do we stand with it? Joe?
It's on the agenda today.
Is it?
Yeah.
Well, I knew it was on there. So I just,
We talked about it this morning.
yeah.
Well, we'll go through that if you want when we go through the agenda, and we'll give you the details of what that is
That's all the
and
bids.
is there. But what's on the agenda, as we discussed this morning, is this would be the approval to go ahead and start the construction, and then we'll be all speed ahead on that. I'm sure there's things we've missed. All right. I do have a couple things. We have our settlement issues with the CCTC, where there's a public hearing that comes in for the methadone clinic. They've tentatively scheduled August 26th, which is after a council meeting. So probably around 4:30 or 5 on August 26th. Essentially, we'll be here. They can come in and they can talk, and residents can come in and participate and answer any questions about that project or that use and all of that good stuff. So that they've agreed to that date. If anyone has any concerns with that, let us know. We hope to get that finalized before the end of the week. On your agenda, there is a correction in the minutes, right, Christie? So we will, when we get to the minutes, we'll kind of walk through that. We missed a couple names on some stuff, so we'll have to go and make sure we adopt the corrected minutes. And that is all I have for my reports.
Great, thank you, Mr. Fivas. Any comments or questions from the council from Mr. Fivas on the city manager's report? Seeing none, we will go straight into the review of our 3 o'clock agenda.
All right. So Sean, you can pass it on. And they will have these. This is for the beginning of your 3 o'clock. You have the owners of the property, who are Phoenix investors, and you all are familiar with them. We also have a guest from who they would lease the property to, which is Sunbelt Rentals. I believe that they're here. Okay. And a chance to, is it Mark Ball? Mark is here from their corporate headquarters, which is in Fort Mill, South Carolina. And they're just going to talk about what they want to do on that. And it's some new information. And we'll let the public hearing process play out. And this is all new information for y'all, which I'm sure you'll be very interested in. To go from there.
If it's new, does it not go back to the planning commission?
We can cross, you guys can cross, I don't want to get too far into the public hearing part of it. It could. You would have, if you did do something, you would have to vote twice affirmatively, John. That you couldn't, that today, if they decided they wanted to do something different on this 455 Inman, that there would have to be another vote.
It has to go back to the planning commission if you're gonna make changes.
If you're going to make changes. So if you're going to make changes, yep.
That's what thank you.
Item B is a public hearing. This is our annexation by referendum out on exit 20. So this is the official public hearing. With today, the vote would be to set an election date, which would be August 1st, and the property owner would be set to go and do the annexation by referendum. And if anyone has any questions, as an aside to that, there is in the development a discussion to, there's actually multiple developers that are all working out at exit 20 to bring commercial, residential, and many other opportunities. So that will come up in the near future for your consideration. So I'm on consent item 7A. It's a request, and you guys voted on this one at the last meeting. Out at Young Road, it's a single piece of property. that the septic failed, and it's right across the street from a city location. And we are annexing that in so that they have access to sewer. 7B is final passage of zoning ordinance 2426 concerning a request by CT Properties for consideration of an ordinance to zone 1.71 acres of a property on 18th Street. You guys already had voted on that affirmatively. Item 7C, which is the request to rezone Southeast Land Trust ordinance for 1.15 acres located on Old Tasso. That was also adopted at the last meeting. We have final passage of zoning ordinance 2428. This is the amendments to the sign ordinances for the flexible wavy signs and the small signs on how we're going to do that. We talked about that at the last meeting, which was adopted. 7E, ordinance 2430. This is the other Phoenix rezoning on 8th Street. 7F, ordinance 2431, amending various sections of Title 12 of the Cleveland Municipal Code to add a technology fee. Item G, resolution 2452, authorizing the mayor to sign a general maintenance agreement with TDOT related to the electronic overheight warning system near the Parker Street. It's a fairly sophisticated laser system, and the state has put that in, and they would like us to take it over. It does have a 3-year warranty, so most of the work is guaranteed during that time, but after that time, it would be on us to update and to calibrate. They've came in and they've done training, and this is something that TDOT really wants us to do, and they've made that fairly clear. Item H, resolution 2485, authorizing the mayor to sign a deed with Ron Barker on land at Paul Huff Extension. This is, Mr. Barker gave the city some land for the right-of-way a number of years ago. Now that they're redeveloping all the stuff along Georgetown, things got off a little bit. So this is basically an exchange. We're moving our road over a little bit, and he's given us a little bit more land to do that. It's really a net loss of nothing. We're just trying to correct it for deeds and a lot of those issues. If you want to get into the technical issues, John and Travis worked all those out. Resolution 2426 or 2466, authorizing the mayor to sign a MOU with the city schools for the School Resource Officer Program. This is just what we do every year. There's no real substantive issues or changes from what we've done in the past. Resolution 2467, approval of the 2024-28 consolidated plan for the 24-25 action plan for the analysis of to implement the fair housing for the CDBG program. We had a public hearing a while ago and heard about some of those. Item K, which is a contract extension for body repairs. Sometimes usually our police cars get banged up, and that's the contractor we take them to. Item L, surplus property. We're declaring 5 used computer stands, not computer, but computer stands, as surplus and donating them to the Whitwell Police Department. Item M, motion to authorize the city to purchase equipment through the Master Intergovernmental Purchasing Contract for Musco Sports Lighting at the Tinsley Park Pickleball Lighting Project. Essentially using the government contract on that.
Is this what we use for the soccer complex?
It is.
And are they totally up and done yet?
Does anyone here know about the Musco project? I think Patty is not here.
I know it's
Well, come on up. You raised your hand.
Seems like,
I think at the soccer complex, there were some issues with how they cleaned things up and how they did some things. And those are noted, and I think a lot of them have been fixed.
we're kosher with that?
For a new construction project, it won't be the same concern, because they'll be coming in on the front end, so we should be fine for that. And the quality of the lighting and all of that is actually very good.
Is everything checked off at the soccer complex?
That part I'm
We'll get back.
not sure on, that's Patty's.
Patty and Jonathan are the points that they're not in the
Yeah.
room here, but I'll give you the answer.
Okay.
Yeah, we're good for the new part, for the pickleball project,
Alright.
yeah.
Hey, Bill. I think Musco does Cleveland High School also.
And now, they do a lot of, almost all the
Yeah.
government stuff, but
Issues.
We'll get you an answer. I mean,
Thanks.
it's a good question. I mean, there were issues, for sure. Then we have a resolution for the change orders 1 and 2 for Tricon related to the Tinsley Park pickleball court. Did you go too far, Brian? These are, had a little bit of soil issues, not enough clay in the soil, so they're gonna have to do a little excavation and repairing and replacing. The good part is there's a geotech involved, so this is about warranties and liabilities, is we want their geotech report to be able to say that the warranty will stay, so we're just trying to do that. Do you have anything else to add? All right. There's an interlocal agreement between Cleveland Utilities Authority for services. Cleveland Utilities has already approved this, and the council technically approved something very similar last year, and this is just us cleaning up that last agreement. And Brian, why don't you come up and talk about the shell package? The shell package for the new council room area. We have these bids, and Brian can tell you all about them. There's one, it's pretty straightforward, and he can talk to you about the contractor. There's one issue that we need to get feedback on, is that there was is it add deduct?
Yeah, a deductive alternate, yeah.
Deductive alternate of doing a skylight, and we'll show you a picture of the skylights, and it's a $14,000 difference if you want to do skylights in the building. The architects think it's a good idea for more light, but they also don't have to maintain it for the next 60 years.
Yeah.
So you can add that. So Brian will take over.
Sure. Okay, will you pull up those renderings? So, the vote today is for the shell package for the council building. So that is the roof, any of the structural components, the doors and storefront, the windows, just sort of cleaning up the outside. That way, we had originally decided to pull that out, let that be a separate package while we're doing the state historic stuff for the other project. So that way, that won't slow this part down and we can get construction started on some of it. We also had the opportunity then to get some more local bids on this project. Because it kind of made it a smaller, more manageable piece. So we were happy to have several contractors show up and bid. There was a problem with the lowest bid. They forgot to include something. So they ended up not being the lowest bid after they made that calculation. So we have spoken with BP Construction, and they're ready to go. We have all their information. They check all the boxes. The only thing we need to make a decision on is those skylights. So in the council room, there's plenty of light. From the storefront, they are proposing the skylights because we have some interior spaces on the second floor that don't have access to the outside wall. So they have some interior windows, and the skylight would bring some light into those spaces. However, there's a problematic history with skylights in some buildings. The architect says that the way that these are designed, they are supposed to combat most of those issues, and they recommend going forward with it. But we wanted to give you the opportunity to make that decision specifically, since that can cause a future maintenance concern.
So you have windows along the whole one side of the building.
We do. We have windows. It's a two-story space. It has windows along the east side of the building. It also has some upstairs windows that will be bringing light in. This is specifically for bringing light into the interior spaces. So this is a rendering of the space. The skylights are above that, but if you'll go to the next one, you can see a little bit of them. They don't really, it's not really going to affect the aesthetics from being inside the space. They're here, there's one here, and the reason is there's windows in that space that are interior, and they're suggesting that that light will come into those upper windows for those offices, which are actually council offices, to provide light in that space.
My opinion, I don't like skylights.
Okay.
Yeah, I've always had bad experiences with them leaking. I've had high dollar, low end, high end. And also it's a constant maintenance problem to keep them clean.
Oh, I love skylights.
Yeah.
Bring the sunlight in.
Yeah, yeah.
And that is why this issue is before
You
you
can avoid
today.
the sunshine.
Yeah.
Put you up there cleaning them.
Right.
We can avoid
Yes.
the sunshine law if we have
We
skylights.
don't do the lights, sun lights. What kind of lights could we put to give us more light in that area?
You'll basically be relying on the ambient lighting from the lower level kind of coming up and bouncing off the walls, and then just artificial lighting.
My opinion is if you have a skylight and it hasn't leaked, it will at some point in time.
Yeah.
I just want to go back to the building that Cleveland School System had with that rounded. They had to do some stuff on it more than they thought because of the skylights on it
Yep.
also. When I thought the house, I would encourage not to do skylights.
Okay.
Surface.
Do you need a vote? Do you need a vote, Mr. Turner?
You will, yes. So when you vote to approve the package, you'll vote, if you want to include the skylights, it would be the base bid. If you want to remove them, you will vote for that with the deduct alternate to remove the skylights.
It's terrible. The mayor doesn't get a vote.
All right. Any other questions?
Any other questions for Mr. Turner?
So we need to pull it off the consent agenda so we can make that decision or what?
If you, well, you guys can, yes. If there's discussion that someone wants to have on the skylights, then you would need to pull it off the agenda, or off the consent agenda.
If we want it.
If you want to remove them.
If you want to have any level of conversation on it outside of this, you would need to remove it. Right now, the way it's written in the bid is no skylights. Is that
No,
right, Chris?
no. It's included, skylights are included in the base bid. Removing them, unless you wrote it differently, removing them is the deduct alternate.
Yeah. Mayor, we need to pull it off.
So can we apply that $14,000 to something else?
Yes.
So the ends in contingency.
Let us just confer with the person that does our,
Sure.
or our purchasing to make sure that that's correct, but we'll give instructions on how to deal with, on what you want to that.
Yeah. All right. You got anything else?
Stay close, you say.
Jim Sharp Park. We have the bids for Jim Sharp Park. This contract is for the remainder of the park. You've already, I think, approved a part of the playground. We will share that, right now, things bidding them out in a turn, we do a lot of things that we do, certain elements that we can do, and we bid out certain pieces. This is a turnkey park where we basically hand it over and the contractor comes in and just does it all. And of course, you pay for that. This is higher than what we anticipated initially. The state is giving us $600,000+ for this project, and so this is higher than probably even what our original estimates were. But for us to go out there and, let's say, if we were to go out and say no, and for us to go and do that, with us doing the labor, you would probably spend $200,000, $300,000, $400,000 more doing it this way, but we also don't have to put any labor into that, and we have a lot of other projects that we have to work on. So what we have on the agenda is just to approve the bid and to give them the thumbs up to go and construct Jim Sharp Park, which is on Candy's Lane. Any questions on that? Brian, you have anything to add?
Hey, Joe,
Yes, sir.
does it include connecting to the Greenway and the other side of Candy's Lane under the bridge?
It gets it down to the other side of the bridge, and then Cameron Fisher, thank you, got a grant from Chattanooga Gas that will pay for that connection from underneath the bridge to where it is now. So it's
So we
probably.
will not have people walking across Candy's Lane.
No, yeah. So you'll go down the Candy's Greenway underneath the bridge, and then there'll be a pathway up to the playground, so you would never have to cross the street.
Okay, good.
So it'll be extra parking there, people can get on the Greenway and walk too, correct?
Yeah, you can park in those new Greenway parking spots, or you can park up on top.
That's perfect.
Any additional questions, let us know.
No skylights.
No skylight. And we finally,
No skylights for you.
Yeah.
we finally reached an agreement on the buffer for LeConte. We've talked about it a number of times. Essentially, we're not gonna pay for that, but we're gonna do some of the work to get the fence up and get the plantings in and be done with that. There was a development that they have that wants to come in there, and they've agreed to pay for it, but we have to work with them. And so with the passage of this, we're all done, and the buffer will be all in, and we'll go from there.
Joe, is it not the original contract to do a buffer and trees?
That's a long conversation.
I know,
The answer is
that's
yes.
what I
We
remember.
believe yes,
Yes.
and they believe no. So we've worked together to figure out how can we protect those property owners without city residents having to pay for that, and I think we've accomplished that.
Okay.
And if you think about it, you have other questions, let us know. Approve agreement for Card Connect credit card merchant services at the Parks Department. You have a memo for the Health and Education Facilities Board and then the City Industrial Development Board. We had one applicant for that. You had David Fair, who was a longtime member of that committee. He moved outside of the city, which by state law he could not serve any longer. Jared Castile volunteered to serve on this committee. He's an attorney at Chambliss Bonner. He has background in real estate acquisitions and financing, which this is what this group mostly does. And that's the consideration of who you can appoint if you choose to do so today. Then you have the two CU reappointments. Then you have 10A, ordinance 2432 concerning, and back to the 455 Inman Street, which we're going to have a public hearing and we're going to have some conversation on. And we have item B, which is the B, C, D are all tied to the annexation request out at exit 20 for 57 acres. Then you have item 10E, which is the gas franchise agreement. In front of you, you have the agreement. Yesterday I sent the red line copy and the other copy. Mr. Kimball may have some input on this. Every 20 years, you have what is called a gas franchise agreement, and they're 20 years long. And essentially, it talks about what franchise fee that we pay. Ours is 5%. And how what our relationship is between them doing their service of gas to residents and there. Now, we have not seen any issues as far as anything that caused us any concern at this point. There were a couple issues that came up that we had to talk to them about and get things modified. But I think what you have in front of you is a franchise that would take us in a solid space for 20 years. The good thing is, and I understand that you have just gotten this, we didn't get this until Friday at late in the day. The good thing is, even if you affirmatively vote on this today, it still comes back for a second reading. So if there's something that we find or want to look at again, you still have the opportunity to take a deeper dive on that. Yes, sir.
Joe, is it standard to do 20 years?
Well, most of the cities that have them in Tennessee, they're 20.
Okay, it just seemed like a long time.
It is, but Joe had asked me before the meeting if we knew what other cities' franchise fee were, and Christie and I looked, and the ones we could find, Chattanooga, Murfreesboro, Nashville, they're all 5%, they're all 20 years. There could be others that, there's not a cap on the rate, but apparently it's customary for it to
Two
be
busloads
5%.
are gonna put him over the top.
And of course, they're gonna pass that on to their gas customers.
Yeah, I know.
Joe, are they still required to use flowable fill and street cuts through the street cut policy?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And that's
Yeah.
not part of this agreement, but they're required.
In paragraph, one of them, it says this franchise fee is in addition to the street cut fees or any other fees they would owe. And so they acknowledge
I'm
there's
not
some-
concerned about the fees, because I read that in there, but the flowable fill on the cuts.
It applies to any utility contractor who cuts your tree. Yes, it's a street cut.
Thank you.
All right, with that, I have a couple other suggestions. I did have an opportunity to talk to Dr. Elliott between our last meeting and this meeting, and we have a process laid out of meeting with some of our finance staffs to discuss some of their proposals, and then in August bring back and have a joint meeting of some kind after we try to look at how to, if there's options to financing and some stuff like that. So we're basically having conversations, and we intend to have conversations over the next few weeks, and then schedule a meeting that there can be an interface between the council and the school board on trying to figure out the school board request. So, seems like there was something else. I can't remember. But with that, I will be done with the agenda review. Oh, for technical purposes, the reappointment for David May, that appointment, it says on here to June 30th. It actually is September 30th of 2028. So you can make that change in the minutes. So. Unless there's other questions, that's all I have.
Any other questions?
Oh,
or
I remembered
comments from the
what my
council?
one thing is. Is that we do have our friends from Phoenix Investors here who own a number of acres of property. They're here to meet with us. The mayor and I had an opportunity to meet with them this morning. I feel that it was a very productive conversation, which we appreciate you joining us today and visiting our Jetport, of course. And you may have some dialogue with them between meetings or there, but I felt like we had good conversations and it was productive, and we've made some progress with them. Do you have anything? Good. So, and that's all that I have.
Are they going to present something at the 3 o'clock meeting?
They have someone from Mark Ball from
Yeah.
Sunbelt Rentals will at probably the
Yeah.
public hearing.
Yeah,
We'll go through that.
okay.
I think that.
All right, any other comments or questions for Mr. Fibus? Seeing none, we will go with item number 4, reports from City Council. Mr. Councilman May, we begin with you.
No, wait till 3 o'clock.
Councilman Hughes,
I'll wait.
Councilman Webb,
No, sir.
Vice Mayor Johnson,
No.
Councilwoman McKenzie, Councilman Estes.
Briefly, I don't know if Chief of Codes is under you now. It's not. It's under Jonathan, who's not here. I'll put it in an email.
You can, Robert's here.
So, thanks for the 3 spots, and thanks that it was responded to so quick. If one of the spots, 2nd and Pew Northeast, they didn't cut the right of way. I don't know, if we could just go back and look at that. I don't know if that's our responsibility or theirs, just 2nd and Pew North, I know. I appreciate it, and I know, I missed lunch today, I had to work, but, Friday nights at Main Street has been wonderful. So kudos to Sharon and her staff and what's going on in the community. That's all.
Great, thank you. Councilman Cassida.
Yes, one thing, Mayor. Tommy, I've got a few calls from people about picking up tree limbs and stuff. They're very happy. They wanted me to thank you and your staff for what you do for them. They were very positive, nothing but high words for you. So I just want to share those with you and your staff. That's all I have, Mayor.
Councilman, did you also want to move item P, the City Council bid for the Shell package, to new business off the consent? Or were you going to leave it on the consent calendar?
Well, I think we're going to check and make sure the document says with.
When we start the meeting, we'll make sure, we're going to double check to make sure we're all on the
Yeah.
same page.
We don't know if it includes it or if it doesn't include it in the bid.
All right.
So,
All right, any other comments or questions or reports from the council? Seeing none, we have no announcements at our 1 o'clock, so we will be adjourned until 3 o'clock.